Good morning, Corey.
Good morning, Michelle.
I believe every company should strive to form a diverse table, to empower people of different skills and every time, what is it?
Skills and identities.
To foster a new generation of, okay, let's go again.
They want you to think it's you, that it's you who made this world. But it's always been them. All we've lost, all that's been done to us, we're setting that right again. Greetings. Welcome to the headquarters of the human resistance.
Where's my hair?
Your hair has been destroyed to prevent you from contacting your ship.
What ship?
Your mothership?
Okay. In the next 48 hours, the police and the FBI will begin a statewide manhunt. I'm a high-profile female corporate executive. I am crucial. In all humility, I can say that. Think of it like you abducted the governor, but worse. There is no possible scenario where you benefit from this incident.
That was really good. My pulse is racing right now. I've done a ton of research on this. You're killing our planet.
Alien fellas.
I'm not an alien.
You're lying to me.
What's the difference? You know this is crazy. You know this is wrong.
I know who you are. I know what you are.
I know you too, Teddy.
It's fine. It's cool.
What's up?
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Occult Rejects, episode 3 of our Rustic God series. I am Jules, host of the Gray Pill podcast, and this next to me, this fine-looking gentleman, is Headless Giant, my co-host for this show. Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome. So that intro, Headless, do you want to explain a little bit about because I'm pretty sure some people may be a little confused. That wasn't a pop-up advertisement, guys. This episode is about Aristaeus. Did I say it right?
Yep.
Okay.
You got it.
The Rustic
Aristaeus,
Apollo.
one of the rustic gods. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now we started this not knowing where it would take us, right? The Rustic Apollo was just next on the list, and it just happens to be that I'm researching this topic at the very same time they're releasing a movie about it this weekend. Like, it literally just came out on Friday.
I had no idea about this either, dude.
Right.
What? So here, let's go ahead and we'll pull this up right here. Aristaeus, this guy.
Look at that handsome feller.
There he is.
Oh, there are those bees. We saw that in the trailer, didn't we?
Yeah, so we will be talking about this guy, bee symbolism, a little bit about that, the connection to the trailer we just watched, the movie named Bugonia, which I think that's pretty uncanny that they would name the movie after the type of ritual that you were talking about, right?
Somebody's saying your pants are on fire, but yes. In this instance, this movie has everything to do with this character from ancient Greece. In fact, probably much older than even they're talking about in ancient Greece, right? So,
yeah,
in the ancient Mediterranean world, there was this belief in spontaneous generation. Now, that's an oversimplification that a lot of scientists have put onto it. But part of this belief is talking about the ox-born. The ox-born ritual. That's what Bugonia means. So the first part, bu, means ox, and gonia means born. or generated from.
Okay.
And so this ritual was destroying an animal, in this case, an ox, so that you can get rebirth and renewal. So in the story about Aristaeus, all of his bees died off, just like the environmental destruction that we're going through with the bees right now, right? And so the only way that he was able to bring life back into his beehives was to do this Bugonia ritual and have the bees come out of the corpse of the ox, spontaneously generated in this ritual. And so he would revive his honeybees through the destruction of this ox. Now, this is talked about in Virgil's Gorgics right here. This is Virgil's book 4, and I was going to read a little of this so that you guys can get this idea. All right, so Protinus, I'm sorry, this is in Latin right here. Now, in its turn, I will pursue the subject of honey, heaven sent, a gift from the sky. Maecenas look with favor on this story, which tells about a marvelous tiny scene, and all in order of magnanimous captains, and the entire nation its character, activities, its tribes, and their battles. The task is small, but not the glory. If the powers that might oppose it will allow it, and if Apollo listens to my prayer. Virgil is firmly a polytheistic guy. First of all, I find a protected place for the bees to make it their home, a place that is safe from the wind, that might prevent them from getting back with their food, and safe from the sheep or the wanton kids that trample the flowers down, or the wandering heifer shaking the dew from the grass and brushing the rising blades. Protect the rich stalls. This is 1st century BC, right? So this is before Christ and everything else. This is what they use to teach their kids literacy. So this is all what the early Roman or late classical Roman children are reading.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Protect the rich stalls of their honeycombs from the scaly, shiny-backed lizard, from the bee-eater, from the other birds of the sort, from porcine, whose bloody hands have left their signs upon the crimson breast, and any of these can devastate the bees, catching them in their mouths to carry them home, as delicacies to feed their cruel children, talking about the pigs and how the pigs just eat everything.
Mm-hmm.
And there should be a limpid spring nearby, or a moss-edged pool, or else a little brook. He's telling people how to take care of the bees. Almost unseen, making its way through the grass, and a big palm tree or oleaster shading the vestibule of the place where the bees have settled, so where the kings of the hive lead the swarm forth in the welcoming season, and glad to be free at last. The youthful bees are capering and playing. There'll be a stream bank or a pond bank there, where they can escape the unaccustomed heat, and where the leaves of the tree can shelter them. And whether it's pools or running streams, there must be a willow shoots and stones deposed across as resting places for them to spread their wings and dry them in the sun, if they had happened to linger and were caught in a sudden shower, or the wind had suddenly blown them into the water. And there should be sweet blooming marjoram near, and the odor of seraphilia spreading far, aromatic thyme and violet beds, drinking from the trickling spring or stream. Now, what's interesting about that thyme reference is that that's what you would coat the ground with. In the Bugonia ritual, is you would coat the ground with thyme as you're bringing the ox into the barn and beating it.
Mm-hmm.
Whether the hive is made by sewing together concave strips of bark or woven of pliant oyster wands, be sure to the entrance is narrow, for winter's cold makes the honey freeze and congeal. Heat causes it to melt and liquefy. And either of these cases is a cause for fear for the bees. For it is this reason they vie with one another to smear wax over the chinks in the walls of their houses, or stop them with resinous stuff from flowers, more sticky than bird lime or pitch, Phrygian Ida. Anyways, They bring it back home and save it for this purpose. And so we're told sometimes they establish their house in a hiding place underground to keep themselves safe, or they're discovered to have settled themselves in the cells within a porous rock or maybe the cavities of a tree, decaying trunk, so to help them out by spreading mud or clay over the walls of their hide and maybe scatter a few leaves over it. Be sure there isn't a yew tree growing too near where the hive is placed. Beware of roasting crab too close to it. 2. The smoke is poisonous to the bees. Beware of any place where the smell of mud prevails or where a voice from within a hollow rock comes echoing back in response to the sound that struck it.
It's so cool. It's so cool, man. Wow, it's crazy how the entire ritual consists of just nothing but nature, right?
Well, he hasn't even gotten into it. He's just talking about how to beekeep, right? So the entire Gorgics is all about how to be a farmer. So he's got poems upon poems of how to be a farmer. And he gets into how to create the bees using this Bugonia.
Yeah, Taffy. That's the Gorgics. I said that right? I'm trying to pronounce all this correctly. I don't want to disappoint you. So one thing I do want to say, it's funny, very symbolic that the bees are leaving or dying off. It's kind of like God is leaving humanity, right? Another thing, and I'm sure we'll get to it, this process of the bees inside of the ox is very similar to that of the cow and the homunculus, and beating the cow with certain objects, and like the birthing of that through that process. Also, I wanted to tell everybody, go ahead and repost the stream, like it if you can. We were trying to get some other people in here. Nick was going to join us, and I was going to say, bro, we should play the video from the Arkansas Paranormal Expo before we get out of here today. So remind me to do that.
You got it. You got it.
Nick has a good cameo at the end. He's doing a 666 troll, I think, which I think is hilarious. But yeah, I wanted to read a little something about bees. When I first started Gray Pilled, I was one of the first forms of occult symbolism that I got into was that of animals, right? And so this is from you probably guess it, a Manly Palmer Hall treatise. So the beehive is found in masonry as a reminder that in diligence and labor for a common good, true happiness and prosperity are found. The bee is a symbol of wisdom, for as this tiny insect collects pollen from the flowers, so men may extract wisdom from the experiences of daily life. The bee is sacred to the goddess Venus, and according to mystics, it is one of the several forms of life which came to Earth from the planet Venus millions of years ago. Wheat and bananas are said to be of similar origin. Okay. This is the reason why the origin of these three forms of life cannot be traced. The fact that bees are ruled by queens is one reason why this insect is considered a sacred feminine symbol. So, what do you think about that, Headless?
I think there is a certain hive mind attachment between bees and humans. We have the same kind of hive mind mentality on a different level, the universal unconscious level, as Jung would talk about. So our archetypes become our hive mind, right? We can tell each other references about these movies and these other cultural things that sort of produce a language all of its own, sort of a subconscious language. And for the Masons, for the Mormons, for all of these other cultures to exemplify the bee, they're going for that hive mind. They're going for that centrality of thought, which I think we find all over the Mediterranean with their Betelgeuse stones. And the Betelgeuse stones are like the central core of that civilization. Stones that represent the middle part of the body, or the omphalos, right?
What are these called? The Betelgeuse stones?
Yeah, well, in general, they're called Betelgeuse stones, but specifically, usually Betelgeuse stones are an omphalos for the culture, right? Which would be a belly button. This is what connects the earth to the sky. As we've heard before, the belly button of the earth is where everything was once connected, right? And
Right.
so Minnesota comes from the word Minigota, which means navel of the world. They had this concept all over the world, except for after we've introduced some other religions. Then the shift of the Daedalus stone comes not from under your feet, but now it's in somebody else's land. And you've got to do something to get your Daedalus stone back so that you can
Your birthright,
centrality.
basically, right? It's like
Right.
this similar. Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, there is the concept of bees, being, like using the power of God to heal you. For instance, if you get like, there's that theory that if you get stung by bees, it's kind of because you need to be stung, or it's like they're healing you spiritually or something. There's something that they're doing there. So when they avoid you, it's kind of like, you're vibrating at a proper frequency, or, in tune with nature.
Well, bee venom has a particular property that actually makes it beneficial to people who suffer from MS, right? So
Really?
bee venom is used in medication for people having nerve disorders like muscular dystrophy, or I forgot what MS stands for.
Multiple
sclerosis.
Yeah.
Right. And it's used in other things as well that targets the nerve fibers. And what's interesting is bees are also very closely associated with Jupiter. And Jupiter set them in motion at first, right? Aristaeus may have learned to cultivate them, but Jupiter is the one who created them, supposedly, according to Virgil. So the idea that they're connected to the nerves and the sinews really does make a lot of sense when you think about the electrical nature of the nervous system and how there is this connection of this electrical system. If you were to look up the Omphalos stone at Delphi, Omphalos, Omphalos.
At Delphi?
Yeah.
Okay. Let me share this. Right here?
That's the one. So this Omphalos stone, it doesn't look like much when you're looking at it. It's like, oh, they carved something into there, maybe. So what's the big deal? Well, that pattern on the outside is supposed to look like a net, right? But to me, it looks like bees crawling on the outside of a beehive. And you can see, down there at the bottom, you've got a sort of a bee opening kind of at the bottom. These were made out of clay. They weren't clay or concrete, but they were hollow on the inside. And these would go underneath of the oracle as she's delivering the prophecy. So this navel of the world, which is what Omphalos means, is underneath the oracle. So
is this what she would sit on when she would?
She's sitting on a tripod above it.
Okay. So this was underneath her.
Right. And so they assumed that meant that these volcanic gases were coming up through it because it's hollow and it's got a hole in the top. And so this was like how it directed these hallucinogenic fumes up to the oracle. Well, I don't know about that, but the symbolism itself is that this beehive is the central core of the Hellenic world, right? This is the place where the oracle, this priestess, the Pythia, attended by the Melissae, which means honey in Greek, right? Attended by the Melissae priestesses, right? The beehive priestesses would deliver her messages to the masses, right? This is another Omphalos, but they're all in the shape of this honey beehive, right?
Right.
And then you have the tomb that is most famous in Greece prehistory in the Mycenaean period, which is the tomb of, I forgot his name, but it's in the shape of.
Look at that one Omphalos right there with the snake on it, dude. That's wild.
Right. Very Orphic.
Crazy. Yeah. It's like an egg. Yeah. Wow, dude.
And the black stone of Kybele, right? The black stone of Kybele, similar shape, similar thing. This is what they brought back to Rome when they wanted to win the Punic Wars, right? So all of this comes to this idea of this beehive right? This is what we derive our central understanding of the world from. Now, how do you revive the beehive? Sacrifice. With sacrifice. So they had to, that's a good one right there. They had other methods, the alabastron being one of them. Don't look it up. Let them do that. But yeah, so the idea is that through cultivating these relationships with nature and understanding how to the proper method of sacrifice, you could bring fertility back through the world through a certain kind of destruction. And if you watch that trailer, you get that impression.
Is that kind of the
all time?
It's kind of the same as the order out of chaos, right?
Right.
Okay.
And so these conspiracy theorists have these kind of religious beliefs about aliens and UFOs, and they're using that religious.
Have you seen the newest episode of Joe Rogan?
I've not.
Dude is on there who worked by some place called Dreamland. I guess it's out in the desert. He ran into this. He saw this craft parked, and he has a drawing, like a 3D little rendering of it, and everything. And the way this guy's telling the story, I don't know, man. It seems like he's not. It seems like he's telling the truth. I know it's probably a long shot, but he's this being that had no ears, that was kind of bluish pale and big eyes, asked him for what was it? It's the certain kind. It's what makes our watches glow in the dark. It starts with a T. He thought he was asking for titanium, but like as he was asking him, he sent like this energy to him. Like, I don't know, making him not so scared of him. And then at the same time, he tells him where to find some of it. And he points to the mountain, and the alien sends him another, like this wave of like anger or disgust. And he's like, I'm not going over there where those animals are. Like, yeah. And this guy is sitting there telling the story on Joe Rogan. And he's, I mean, you should go listen to it, man, or should go watch it. I literally 20 minutes before we sat down, I was watching it.
Interesting.
It could just be something to add on to the whole, the whole alien thing. We know that's
the whole JJ
slow rolling in for some time now.
There's a whole JJ perspective where he thinks that all of these religious beliefs are based off of ancient alien cargo cults. So it's at one point, the aliens were around and we called them gods. And then when they left, we wanted to simulate what it was like to have them around. And so we created these belief structures based off of that. And so the idea with them using the conspiracy theorists as the foil in this movie is they're pointing at them as being like the revival of that same sort of ancient alien cargo cult idea. Like these are the first people to have religion, is the people in contact with the aliens, right?
Yeah.
And so
they're the priest kings,
right?
Yeah.
So
I think JJ's he's probably on to something there.
Well, in this case, it would be that the alien UFO theorists are now the priest kings of a new generation as they're doing the Bugonia ritual to get rid of this CEO that's, monopolizing and destroying the planet. So you still have that contrast that
this movie is just the microcosm, right, of something happening on a much larger scale. Okay.
Right. And so, the rustic Apollo, all the rustic arts are his, right? So he was taught all of the things. So he's a shepherd, he's a beekeeper, he keeps the birds happy. Yeah, Aristaeus.
Looks like kind of like a younger version of him.
He is the younger Apollo. Right?
Okay. Yeah, I saw one thing saying that it's the son of Apollo, one thing saying it's his cousin. Just means it's related to him, basically.
Right. So Apollo is the Lord of Light. And this guy is enlightening people as to the methods of farming, enlightening people with this specific knowledge.
Right.
Apollo would be general knowledge. He would be specific knowledge of this specific area of working. So
I was going to say, Aristaeus, the rustic god of beekeeping, cheese making. olive growing, and hunting. He was a companion of his divine cousin Dionysus. Huh. So I guess he's a cousin to Dionysus, son of Apollo. Yeah, man. It says, well, there's also another name. He's in here twice. Once as what I just read, and then the second time it says a giant. There was a giant with the same name in Greek mythology who fled the battle with the gods and was transformed into a dung beetle. It's interesting.
Very.
My eye.
Especially with the context of dung beetle in Egypt.
The scarab, right?
The scarab.
Yeah.
As it's pushing the sun up the hill.
Yeah, bro. Yeah.
But
yeah,
that's how the nation
crazy.
That's how the nation is pushed forward is on the backs of these workers who are, creating and producing the honey from these hives that they've got the rituals for, that they've connected with the land for. So these are the people who are really pushing the empire forward, or pushing.
And wouldn't and so the scarab beetles would shed their skin, right? They would leave behind like this. I don't know what it was. Maybe I'm thinking about something else. Actually, because dude, I mean, there was what was it? It was an Osirian. It was an episode I did on Osiris. I think it was like a year ago or something. Where I kind of got into a little bit of like just the archetypal agricultural god. And then I think we ended the episode. We watched like an hour-long video or something. I don't know. It was back when I used to do solo streams. I miss those days. May start doing those again, guys. I actually come prepared for those. Yeah, let me take this off real fast. Sorry.
All right. No, that's no problem. But so, you could see why this guy is, considered a minor god today.
Right.
Like, we don't value any of the agricultural knowledge. We don't pass it on. We don't even think about it. And this guy was central to life back then because he's the keeper of all of this knowledge that keeps the entire empire rolling forward, right? Mm-hmm. Everybody who needs to know anything is going to have this Aristaeus type character teaching the law, teaching the Gorgics, teaching all of these things to future generations. And that's why you would put him in something like Virgil. Now, the Bugonia ritual is infinitely transformed the more symbolic it becomes. So at first, it's this attempt to make bees come back to the world, right? And then you bring your ox to the temple to be burned on an altar so that the fumes go up to heaven, so that in the same way that the bees are rising, the smoke rises up to heaven, and they know that you've left an offering for them, right? So it's a symbolic transaction instead of a physical one.
Yeah.
So,
okay. Yeah. The scarab was it was the resurrection of the soul and a new life at the end of the mortal span. Yeah.
So you can see why this guy would be kind of important, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's this huge linkage that nobody really pays attention to because, again, rustic things always get lost in the churn.
Right. I was going to say, I've never heard of them before. So, and I've done quite a lot of research, not as much into the Greek pantheon, but I've never heard this guy before. So,
well, he also plays a central character in the myth of Orpheus and Eurydice. So Eurydice was a nymph, so she spent most of her time out in nature. That's where she comes from. Her dad's like a stream or something, and so Orpheus is married to Eurydice. And then Aristaeus causes a snake to leap out at Eurydice, causing her to fall over backwards and die and go down into the underworld. And Orpheus has to go down into the underworld, play music for Hades, and convince him to let Eurydice go. Okay? And so Aristaeus, in this case, would become the hapless foil. He just wanted to help, but he ended up making things worse because he created a situation that was not good. So in some ways, he is demonized by the Orphic reformers as being, well, he didn't exactly know what he was doing. He kind of stumbled into this whole thing. But we can redeem the soul through music, right? Because the Orphics really brought a lot more musically centered worship to Greece, right? Before that, they were fire worshipers, and they had all these other practices that the Orphics really kind of helped to die down and then mainstream the idea that worshiping through harmony, worshiping through math, worshiping through these other ways was more important than all of the sacrifice, right? So the Orphics really did play a role in, downplaying the sacrificial aspect. So having them,
would you say that was a good thing?
Well, I think so. I mean, again, like, do you use sacrifices to start a car?
That'd be something.
Right. So what are we doing here? Right. So there's a destruction element to sacrifice. Yeah. And if all you're doing is destroying your stuff because you're really superstitious, are you really getting the benefit out of the sacrifice to begin with?
Right. Yeah, that's the intention behind it, right? You're like, on edge the entire time. No.
Right. So there is an element to that, but you can see how this character would change and transform based off of the cultural context that's going on in the society. So for them to, really point at the bumbling of this Aristaeus, who was the master, shepherd, and the master beekeeper, and all the rest of these things originally through his sacrifices, now sort of takes a backseat to more political, more harmonious ways of trying to get around in society. So less about the sacrifice, more about creating group harmony, more about creating, experiences that people can walk away with instead of sacrifices that you have to give up, So in some senses, it was necessary to go through the stage of Aristaeus and really connect with the land. But in another sense, it's a lot more destruction than what you should be doing and a little bit more superstitious. But again, rustic gods, right? You would expect there to be some superstition in there as well, right? That's a big part of country life is superstition. So,
yeah. And I think there was some stuff on Pan that we didn't touch on that I wanted to kind of come back to. Maybe we could do that on another episode or something.
No, we can do it now. Let's hit it.
I just there's that similarity with Cernunnos. Do you think there's something there?
Oh yeah. But the Cernunnos, that's an assumed name, right? We don't actually have what they called him, but Cernunnos,
the horned one, right,
is the horned one, right? And so they kind of put that label on all of the art that has the god with the big horns coming out. But we see the gods with the horns also in Mesopotamia as well. Instead, it's far more bull-like and far more moon-like in its aspect as opposed to the deer-like.
And it's mainly one side of the pantheon. It's the side that comes down from Enki. And if you think about like them being kind of like shown as these composite creatures, half animal, like freakish looking, right? They're like trying to convey this message that they were these, chimeras or something,
Right. Well, each and every one of these animals has a culturally agreed upon aspect to them, right? So pigs mean a certain thing symbolically to the rest of the people in that culture that we may not have the context to. So if it's a half man, half pig god, you would know what that means in that culture, right? If it's a half man, half hawk god, you would have that,
know what that represents.
Context, right?
Yeah, you take both the attributes from each animal and
which goes into the bull, right? Because this bull, this ox, it wasn't just an ox. This was the bull of heaven, right? This was Taurus. Yeah. And if you've ever seen Taurus in the night sky, it is massive. It is huge, right? And so this bull of heaven was a huge part of ancient life back then. And when it comes up, that's when it's planting season. You have got to get the seeds in the ground. That's the bull of heaven. You know what to do, right? So when it's at that certain aspect, that's when you know that is the time to do the work. And so this became that symbol of spring, that symbol of planting, that symbol of diligent hard work that is very closely associated to Bugonia and Aristaeus as well, is this bull of heaven. Now that bull of heaven, to sacrifice that, again, right, if you look at where Orion is placed next to this bull of heaven, you also know what to do. That means it's time to sacrifice that bull to the gods, right? That bull of heaven has to be sacrificed so that you can make the gods happy. And in one of the first stories of the post Golden Age in Greek mythology is the one about Prometheus. Again, this is a Promethean type character, this Aristaeus guy. He's bringing the knowledge, right? You see Prometheus and the sacrifice to Zeus. So after the Titanomachy is over, Zeus has some of the Titans still in his court. So two of them would be Prometheus and Epimetheus, his brother. They jumped ship. They were on the Titan side first, and then they came over and they helped Zeus win the Titanomachy with Prometheus's ability at forethought, right? And so Zeus says, we're going to have a feast. We've defeated the Titans. And so it's time for a sacrifice. So what Prometheus did is he said, let's give a share to these humans who are, he wanted to make them new parts of his family, right? He wanted these humans as part of his, because all of his family were in Tartarus. They were in the underworld, so he wanted to create a new family, this Prometheus character. And so he gave the humans his forethought, right, as part of their gifts. And in so doing, he wanted to give them the best share of this cow. So part of the share goes to the gods and part of the share goes to the people. So what he did is he wrapped the muscle and the good cuts of meat in the entrails, right? So all the disgusting entrails go on top of the good meat. And then he took the fat of the animal and he put the fat all over the bones, right? He put the fat all over the inedible parts of that cow. And he let Zeus decide. He goes, which share do you want? And which share will you let the humans take? And so Zeus, seeing that glistening fat, knowing that that's the good stuff, he picked that. So he got the inedible parts while the humans got the good stuff. And for that, boy, Prometheus was punished, right? He hated Prometheus for that because that defied his expectations. You never want to defy God's expectations. So
is that why he put him on that mountain?
This is why he stole fire from the humans, because he knew that would get Prometheus worse than anything else. So he took the fire back from the humans and said, now you have to shiver in the cold. And so Prometheus went up to Mount Olympus to retrieve the fire of the gods, bring it back down to humans so that they can be warm and happy once again. He was the light bringer from Mount Olympus, from the stolen fire, bringing it back to society. Again, back to this Enki symbolism. Enki, Enlil being
Enlil being the bull of heaven. But then at the same time, their sister wife, Ninhursag, was also depicted as a cow, but not as anything to venerate, like they were kind of making fun of her. And then Marduk was also known as the solar calf. So, you got kind of a different, some kind of deity at each time that's represented by this bull. And so it's always there, but it seems like it means something different with each deity.
Well, right. But on some level, you can see the bull as representing at its very most basic level.
Right.
This is the internal processes going on within every human and every animal. It's this drive, this desire. It connects to Aphrodite as well. It's like, why is the ox pulling the cart? Well, he wants to do it. I just saw this massive horse today that's used in logging, right? This thing is like the size of a bulldozer, and it loved pulling those logs. Like we're talking 60-foot tree trunks, right? Huge freaking logs. And this horse is just rearing and ready to yank those across the field for no other reason than it loves to do it. This is how they had to do their breeding programs. They had to get these animals liking the physical exertion. And, you know, I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. But at the very core of the bull of heaven is these intrinsic motivating properties inside of us that get us to move forward. It's in the Orphic hymn to Aphrodite. They talk about how she can bind every beast with the unbreakable chains of desire. Everything has desire. It wants to do a certain thing. And if you can work with that, you can, you know, put that the you know, collar on the ox and get it to plow your field for you. As long as it wants to do it, everything works in harmony. So in some level, that bull of heaven really represents the internal drives, the internal intrinsic drives that every human has, as well as every animal and everything else. It's what pushes you forward. Unfortunately,
some people are lazy. I don't know.
Right.
I don't know. Some people are pretty lazy, but it seems like
don't
that's
have a very
what
strong
society or has done to us, right? That's not how we're originally created. We're created to be, you know, to want to learn and do things and explore and create, you know. So,
well, there's also another aspect.
What's
so, have you gone really deep into the lore of this guy from North Carolina who saw this bull lady?
No. Tell me
his
about it, please. Or is there something we can pull up on it?
Yes. His name is. He had a UFO encounter where Hathor appears to him.
Yeah.
You've heard of this?
That's the same. This dude. Yeah. I've heard about this.
Part of this lore is when he was cursing the gods and saying, "Take this away from me. I don't want my kids made fun of anymore. I don't want them laughed at in school. I don't want them to feel bad anymore." He goes outside and he's yelling to these orbs and whatever. And then all of a sudden, he turns around and there's this massive bull that charges over his head, right? It's kind of etheric. And as he's looking up through the bull, he can see the stars through the body of this bull of heaven. Now, he doesn't know what he's looking at.
Are you talking about Bledsoe?
Yes, Bledsoe.
Yeah, I've actually read the UFO of God, dude. Incredible story. I actually listened to Bledsoe Said So. It's a great podcast.
Well, as this bull is charging over his head, he turns around and who does he see? Hathor. He calls the lady, the white lady. Now, what did we just see with this Bugonia ritual? Destruction leading to rebirth.
Right.
Destruction leading to rebirth. And the bull of heaven is charging over his head. So if we're going with the classical interpretation, something has to die so that the lady can be satisfied. He doesn't know this. All he's looking at is the images coming into his head. But this is the pattern that's been going on for millennia, is the same type of sacrifice. You have to destroy something old so that something new can be brought into this plane of existence. And he's sort of playing that out.
Only death can pay for life. What was that saying on Game of Thrones or whatever? Yeah. Which I'm sure is from something ancient.
Something.
Yeah. It's all this stuff they put in pop culture is just derived from these ancient texts and these ancient mythologies. There's nothing that's original, dude. I'm sorry to see that. Like, I don't know.
Well, have you ever read the oracle that Philip of Macedon was given before his proposed invasion of Persia?
No, you had told me about it though. You've told me about it. What was this oracle?
I'm looking it up right now.
Was it you?
It's essentially Probably, because I talk about it all the time.
It's probably you.
Look, man, if you want prophecy, you have to realize the Delphic maxims are by far the most important part of any prophecy, because what they gave at the Oracle at Delphi wasn't necessarily immediately understood. You had to know yourself to get the full meaning of the prophecy. That was the goal. And if you didn't know yourself, then that prophecy would turn against you.
It would destroy you. Right. Dude, yeah. I don't want to start talking about Twin Peaks. Don't get me started. So we just finished, guys. We just finished season 3. On what was it, last Sunday, I think. Great episode. Of course, the last episode of it was like, we had a great time. And so the entire catalog of Twin Peaks is on my Patreon, along with an analysis of the show. Good times. Anyway, I'm going to stop talking about it.
Okay. This is what Philip of Macedon received from the Oracle at Delphi back in 336 BC. Keep that in mind. 336 BC.
Oh, we got a 33 in there.
Yeah.
Just kidding.
It's very, very important. So it says, this is what he received. He goes, the bull is garland. All is done. The sacrifice is ready. So knowing what he did about Persia, knowing what he did about what was going on at the time, where their ritual practices with the bull over there in Persia, like this symbol of the bull was huge over there. He says, maybe Persia is the bull that is ready to be sacrificed in the Bugonia. It's ready to revitalize the world once more. And so he says, all right, get all my generals together. We're ready to go. We're going to get over there and we're going to kill them. The Oracle has granted him. So he's got them all in this big amphitheater. And he says, look, we've got our Oracle. It says the bull is garland and ready for and he was assassinated up there on the stage. He was the bull. He was the bull that was garland and ready for sacrifice, because what happened with Alexander the Great, his son?
He died, right?
No, Alexander the Great conquered the world. This was before Alexander did anything. He had to die so that Alexander could reign. Right? That's the whole purpose here. It's like he was assassinated by one of these Persianizers in Greece, which really pissed off fucking Alexander, his son. So Alexander's like, fuck this. I'm taking the fucking world, and nobody's going to fucking stop me. 336 BC.
I hate how in that movie he's like just gay the entire movie. They just portray him as some gay guy. Now I don't know.
If you guys have the time, there's an exhaustive study on this modern obsession with making the Greeks gay. If you look up Leather Apron Society, I think that's his name, he's got a great debunk of were the Greeks gay. And he goes through all of the evidence. This is a thing that really got kicked off in the 1970s. Both the Christians and the woke professors were both on board. The Greeks had to all be gay. That's what was going on before Christianity, is they were all homosexuals. And the reason why we need Christianity, or we need this, new woke mind virus infecting everybody, is we'll have the degeneracy of the ancient Greeks if we don't. And what's interesting is they completely leave out any parts about the laws prohibiting homosexuality in Greece.
Really?
They had laws prohibiting homosexuality in Athens and several other places around Greece. And it was viewed as being very dishonorable. So they kind of took a bunch of pots, which were like 70, 75 pots about, and then they read into a lot of these pots and said that these pots mean that homosexuality was widespread all over the place. But if you just take it for what it is, it's about 76 pots and some fragments that some degenerate probably made, because it was a democracy and there were degenerates that were running around back then, lots of them. You can read about some of the degenerates in this book, The Golden Ass. They talk about some of these priests that were all homosexuals who were.
I didn't tell them to do it. I don't think they're paying him, but I remember I brought it up and Nick was just like, Jesus Christ, not this fucking book. And I'm just like, no, we're gonna read the book. And Nick's like, I know, but I hear about it every fucking show I do.
There's so much in there,
Dude.
Sorry.
I think I have the PDF. I'm gonna start reading it later tonight. Well, actually, I don't know. I think I may do a cryptid watch tonight. Not sure. May do a show tonight, guys. Thinking about it.
Well, unlike Virgil's Gorgics, right? It doesn't have the Latin on the other page. So this has Latin on one page for the Gorgics, and on the other page, it's got the English. So you can get both. But Golden Ass was originally printed in Latin, so there might be some stuff that's missing. Crowley magic is beehole magic.
Hey, definitely. Sex magic is beehole magic. Well, I figured they'd put. Yeah, it's probably the beehole. Shout out Stellar Mass.
Beehole. Well, where do you think the bees would come out of?
Shout out Nephilim Death Squad. What's up, boys?
Dangerous retards in the house. Yeah,
Dangerous retards, keeping it retarded.
But yeah, the beehole, right? The beehole coming out of the ox. The bees had to come out of the bones of the ox. Right?
What was it? It's something about the ox or the cow, because it's the same thing like I brought up at the beginning of the show. I wanted to come back to this. It's the same thing about the homunculus, right? You put, you put them inside of the bull or the cow, and then you beat it with a dog phallus, or there's a few different ways to do. You have like your one way with Paracelsus, and then your other guys, but that's the most common way. That's the first way I heard it talk about. It's pretty grotesque,
They were retelling this book, Virgil's Gorgics. That's where they got it from.
Okay.
That's what they were using. So this very, very ancient ritual that Virgil's talking about in the 1st century BC goes back thousands and thousands and thousands of years all over the Mediterranean. Think about the bullfighting going on in Spain, right?
Yeah.
That came through the Minoans, right? So the Minoans were doing these same kind of rituals using these cows. Here's another interesting fact. So the native cow that was original in Europe is now extinct, and all we have is the domesticated variety. So what came from this original wild species is now dominant, and the wild species is completely gone. So which one turned out to be more suited to the land around it? Which one came out on top? It was the domesticated variety that kind of plows your fields for you, and that does all this other work for you, and that you get to eat when it gets too old or lame.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a very different way of thinking about this competitive nature that we're living in. Like the one that ended up cooperating more with humans ended up becoming the dominant species of cow in all the rest of Europe, and then the older wild species is completely gone now.
Natural selection.
Unnatural
selection.
We're the ones you selected.
What's your cat's name?
Beans.
I love it. Yeah, I mean, in some cultures, cows are venerated, right? They're
even that. You know where that comes from? That comes from the Proto-Indo-European push down into India. The Dravidians didn't have any cows before the Proto-Indo-Europeans showed up.
It came from the Brahmins, right?
Cows. The Brahmins were Proto-Indo-European, so they were bringing those cows with them. That's why they became sacred, is because the Europeans brought their domesticated cattle with them and said, you must worship my animal. Hello? We're the top of your society. Namaste. Worship my cows. You're not allowed to touch them.
Yeah, I was going to say to Xerox, I haven't, but that'd be one to add to the book review list.
Liber Vacay. Yep.
Me and John Lee Chowbeck I think we did Liber Oz on one stream, kind of analyzed it. He's real big into the 77 and finding it and everything. It's crazy. I actually found some 77 coincidences this week. Posted about them. I'm sure some people saw them.
Interesting. We're going to be doing Liber 777 as a series. That's going to be a big long series. Me
Oh,
and
dude.
Nick, and they go through correspondences in there all
Really?
throughout. Yeah, all of the herbal stuff that I plan on doing with the alchemy show I'm doing tomorrow is going to be
Whoa,
coming
whoa, whoa,
through that.
whoa, 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 whoa. You have an alchemy show?
Yeah,
Bro.
I've got an alchemy show. I started it last week.
Funny you say that, because this past weekend I started my new deep dive on alchemy.
Ooh.
And yeah, gonna, like I said, thinking about doing some solo episodes. Wanted to do a follow-up, and that fell back on the Green Man. I think I talked to you about that. Also, we read Adepts, the second hour of Esoteric Book Review, man, and I'm even more interested in the Grail, the Knights of the Grail and all that. So I'm going to be like doing some deep dives on that too. So just some,
Well,
some things
I've
in the
ordered
future
my.
on Gray Pilled, guys. Or I mean, maybe if y'all ever want to do it on this show, we could hop on here, talk about it.
I'd love to have you on as well. I mean, like I'm doing more of the laboratory style alchemy, so I've got the
Right.
equipment ordered, and so we're going to be going through step by step on how to create spagyrics.
Well, I'm not doing that, but I'd love to be there with you while you're doing it. Yeah, that's fascinating, bro. But yeah, maybe you could help me understand a couple other things that I have questions about with it. But we were spot on with the Green Man representing that alchemical process of the sulfur turning green. And then whenever Mercury, whenever you have that, it turns red, right? And so that represents the blood coming out of the sun. And I'm definitely like ought to be some fun episodes. We'll get you on one or two.
This is just going to take us through the plant alchemy, so up to and including the plant stone.
Well, that's very interesting. Yeah, no, I'd love to join you for one of those episodes.
I don't think we're going to be doing any of the more esoteric mineral alchemy, which would include gold and stuff like that.
But, right. Well, I'm just kind of referring to the image that we brought up on that episode that we have with Stein.
Right.
Yeah, it was a fun episode. He's coming on. Stein's coming back on to talk about the Norse pantheon. So it's gonna be
I love it. Like there's so many rustic gods in the Norse pantheon. Like Odin is not the first. He's not the creator of the world. He's the second, third generation. Yeah. And so a lot of what happens when you're talking about these different arrivals of different gods is these represent different migrations of people groups, right? So if you think about the Titans as being an older Pelasgian form of this Greek Hellenism, and then later on you've got the ascendancy of the Mycenaeans, right, which would be the guys in the Iliad, right? And then the Greeks come after the Mycenaeans. So all of these things would represent these different migrations, and they would be represented in the different gods that they would worship as well. So like I was talking about with the Orphics and how they were kind of downplaying, this Aristaeus guy as being the central core of their knowledge base, right?
Yeah.
So different groups take it over, they demonize and they change things around with the mythology. Also something important to keep in mind today. Definitely,
dude. That's why I love trying to look at it from this perspective as well. Try to look at things from just right down the middle. Yeah, yellow. That definitely represents the ego stellar. That's why in the pic, the sun being yellow, it's like you're destroying your ego, right? You're like the lion is devouring the ego by devouring the sun. So I think that's incredible symbolism. That's something worthy of getting tattooed on you. Because when you look at the alchemy of the spirit, right? The transmutation of dark energy into light, which you can get Kabbalistic with it, whatever, sure. But just just getting into slight mysticism, it's very common to talk about that.
Well, even in reference to this Bugonia ritual, we don't have to take an ox into a shed and beat it to death with dog penises.
Right.
We can manifest some of that Bugonia energy by just going out into nature. It's going to start to get rid of that detritus, that old way of thinking that you get stuck in.
Well, they want us to stay inside, dude. They want us to wear these rubber sole shoes, stay inside. Like, dude, me and my kids and my wife will go outside barefoot and just like it's great to just sit out in the sun. I mean, and don't do it for too long. You don't want to get burnt, but at your own discretion. But I mean, yeah, they're definitely trying to sever that connection from us. Even if, like, I don't know, man, even if you're praying, if you're a monotheist and you're praying to God, or you're praying to Christ, like, go outside and do it. Like, it really, you're getting, like, I don't know, it's different than inside somewhere. And I know the church is supposed to represent the body, literally, like the anatomy of the, like, that's what the first churches were to represent, the altar being the head and so on down. And so now it's just very interesting stuff too.
Well, if you think about nature as being the body of the gods, right? That's sort of the polytheistic way of looking at it, because even in the polytheistic temples, you've got all the columns, and at the top of the columns, you've got these things that are emblematic of leaves, right? And so these columns represent these groves, and the groves is where they would worship the gods originally. This is where the original academia came from, is from the grove of the academics, right? So they would go out into nature and have symposiums in these sacred groves of trees so that they could reconnect with these spirits. And again, we're talking about these archaic spiritual energies that the Greeks talked about, like the nymphs, like these other, nature spirits, and how they would interact with them. And this connection to nature was central, so they had to bring it into their cities. And so the rustic gods, I think, is where you find the start of this Greekified, urban life, is because they wanted to take the things that they loved in nature and put them into the city.
Absolutely. Yeah, Stacks. You're definitely right with that. Sorry, I got kids in here. What's up? Trying to be sneaky.
Lucky man. You are a lucky man.
Yeah, man. I know. There's something, I'll tell you that. Then they turn 12 years old, dude. I start remembering how I was, and I just fucking I regret so much. Yeah, no. Kids should definitely treat their parents right, because it will come
back. It'll come back hard.
It will, man. He's a great kid, dude. He's already mowing the yard, and he was with me. I changed the oil in my Jeep yesterday. He learned how to do that, so teaching him right,
Absolutely.
Yeah. Taffy, in the Orlinda, Odin is actually like a mighty warrior. So I mean, a lot of these guys were it says that they were gods or whatever. They were just the masters of their craft, in some of these stories. So, some people say fallen angels, some people say something else. That's why it's important to look into the archetypes of these, because you have some cultures where, yeah, dude, the stories of these deities they're fucked up, like the Sumerian stories, bro. Like, why is Enki pouring his semen in everybody? Now, This is Nudima, the artful fashioner. So him and his son, Thoth, they were in a science lab, apparently. Like, he was this scientist. I don't know. It could have been all in the spiritual realm, guys. I don't know, but, I just think it's very interesting. It's very incestual, and it's reminiscent of the royal bloodlines of today, and how, like, I'm just now noticing that, not only is it the politicians that are all related, but also these actors are all related too. They're all like second, third cousins, bro. Yeah. So, I mean, and it's, I don't know.
Somebody's got to somebody's got to do the genealogies of all of the actors in this Bugonia movie, because this thing is very ancient. It's kind of
think
flying
there's
under the
something to
radar.
do with the actors they casted with the ritual?
Oh, yeah.
Because we know that
We just
this
talked
art-
about the Omphalos, and it's Emma Stone who's the sacrifice.
Okay, bro. Okay. So we're gonna have to come back and do probably do an episode on the movie. I think
I'm gonna have to leave right now, actually, because it's
you're
playing,
gonna go see the movie.
and I'm gonna go see the movie.
All right. Well, we've been here for an hour, guys. This we're trying to do one of these a week for y'all. Me and Headless. We'll try to get Ethan or Jen in here, or Nick even, hopefully. Because we probably have a bunch of shows here in the next couple weeks, since Nick's been out for a couple weeks. You know, he's been out for the last 2 weeks. So but hold on, let's play this video real fast. You want to play this from the expo?
Sure
From the
thing.
Paranormal Expo?
So this is Nick in Arkansas in this museum that they've converted over to the Paranormal Expo.
Yeah. Okay, well, it's on YouTube. I don't care. I don't care if you don't care.
They can't take it down. No, go ahead. I just don't want it to. I mean, the only reason why I think the trailer is safe is because they want people to see the trailer, you know?
So I did this 240-page, fully painted graphic nonfiction book about the
An entity followed my sister-in-law down to Southern Mississippi, down to the University of Southern Mississippi from the Crescent Hotel. It was this entity who she called Petey. Very creepy, dude. Very fucking creepy shit. And my wife has pictures of them there, and these like red and green auras in there. Very creepy stuff at the Crescent Hotel.
Crescent Hotel. When I was a kid, my parents would take me down to Lake Erie Springs, and I was just fascinated by the strangeness of that town. And a good ghost story is a good historical story.
I came to Arkansas in 2020 from the Netherlands, and I just fell in love and I stayed. I love blending, I love perfumes, I love, just natural beauty products. It's handmade right here in the state of Arkansas. I use only all natural materials. All the plants that I use in my herbal extracts and in my herbal infused balms and in my perfumes, I either grow them, either I forage them from the forest. So everything is local here in Arkansas.
Who's that?
Hell yeah. Shouts out Nick. Yeah. Well, guys, thank y'all for coming and hanging out with us. Dude, yeah, let me know how that movie is, please.
I will.
Thank you for being patient with me. I'm not that familiar with these, certain mythologies and these names and these stories. So thank you for teaching me, man. You really are. I learned something every episode we do, really just on the Occult Rejects in general. I love hopping on with y'all for these shows. Yeah, and it's from a perspective that I, haven't really looked at from most of the time I've been podcasting. So I like to come at things from different perspectives and try to understand, all sides of it. I think it's important. I think it's very important. So we don't demonize things, that people tell us are evil, but they don't understand it, right?
Right. Golden calf.
Yeah. Where do you see the golden calf?
Right.
Yeah, man. Yeah. Yeah.
Where's the context for the golden calf? Why are they worshiping a golden calf?
For thee, but not for me.
Well, that Aristaeus thing as well. This is the kind of thing that they were thinking about, is this Bugonia ritual and why they would venerate this cow. as being important as part of that whole pantheon. And not only that, but you've got the Taurobolium that went on in Rome, where they would take their priests underneath a bull sacrifice, right? So they've got this, a platform that has holes in it above, and then the priest has to be underneath the bull and the sacrificer as they're cutting the throat and then raining blood down on the aspirant below. That's in the Taurobolium.
That's super dark.
Yeah. But it really sounds a whole lot like that Bugonia ritual too. It's like you're being drenched in the blood of heaven, the blood of the bull of heaven.
Right.
Pretty specifically, bull of heaven. It's above you as it's raining blood down on you, and that's your initiation into the Roman priesthood.
Well, these things that happen on stage, it could be the world stage or the Hollywood stage. You know, these rituals that they're doing behind the scenes, they portray them as art, right? And so this is their way of letting us know.
That's why this movie's important.
That's why
now you're seeing it, because this thing branches out and changes with all of this cultural diffusion. You know, every single culture has this different thing, and now it's Hollywood's turn to weigh in on the Bugonia ritual.
Absolutely,
which is something that goes into a lot of human sacrifice. You know, because who would you sacrifice these babies to? Baal, Moloch, bull-headed god that you put people inside of, right? It's a complete reversal of the Bugonia, which is far more ancient than this other form. So maybe there was some theological perversion going on with that as well, because there seems to be a lot of it coming from that region of the world. Is they're now, instead of sacrificing bulls to maintain prosperity for the people, they're sacrificing people to bulls.
Right. Well, from what I understand, it's the Moloch sacrifice to Baal, right? Or to Minerva, like at Bohemian Grove. They think that's Moloch. It's not Moloch. Moloch's not even in the Canaanite pantheon, but the Moloch sacrifice was the heating up of either the bull in his stomach, or he would have a bowl, right? In some cultures that they would drop the infant into, and it would, and we've talked about it before. It's disgusting, but yeah, man. So people fear this Moloch deity, and I had Esoteric Eddie on to talk about it. He's like, yeah, it's really not a deity at all. But now, after so many people putting all this intention into fearing it, is it an entity? Does it exist in some other realm as this giant bull, like Baphomet deity? Because I mean, that is also what you would, an egregore, right? We're creating egregores of these things that are just being drawn up, or to represent something. Or
what benefit would a Molk, the MLK priest of
MLK Day, yeah,
right, have? Again, human sacrifices. Look at what we're doing. What would the leader gain from having people sacrifice their own children to the bull instead of sacrificing the bull to the gods? Right now, you know that you've got that person for life, because if they admit to themselves of what horrors they did on their own kin for the sake of these leaders, they couldn't live with themselves. So now they're on the hook for the rest of their lives after sacrificing their children to MLK leader,
right,
Moloch,
right, Molk, yeah.
So it's an inversion of the the Bugonia ritual. It's a complete inversion.
Wow. That's something we can get into next time. Guys, I was going to say, Headless, do you want to put your plugs in, or?
Right. If you have any sort of esoteric or strange stories involving dreams or something supernatural, you can milk the cow, milk the bull. Yeah. Milking the bull is not a good idea, people. Do not try to milk the bull. That does not work out well. But if you want to, you can check out my my show on Thursday, where I read your emails, and my email address is headlessgiantpodcast@gmail.com. And if you have any stories, send them there, and I will read them. And that's also, I got done doing the trilogues today, and I didn't play any clips, so it should still be up. So
cool.
Check that out as well. And Alchemy Mondays. So that's
I'll be tuning into that.
Arrows Up. Yep.
I'll be tuning into that, guys. I may be going live in a few hours for a cryptid watch. If y'all don't know, I just hang out, shoot the shit with the audience, maybe ask for donations, and watch cryptid videos, give my takes on things. And yeah, we just hang out for a couple hours. May do a cryptid watch, may do something else. I don't know. We may watch a movie. I don't know yet. So I'm still trying to figure that out. But I didn't have any guests on this weekend. So I think we have some shows next weekend. I'll keep y'all updated this week. But yeah, y'all, you can find me on Twitter, I guess, at GrayPillPod. Instagram, GrayPill_podcast. Over on YouTube, Rumble, Spotify, Apple Podcasts. Y'all be sure to like and subscribe if you haven't yet. If you want to support the show, you can at patreon.com/GrayPillPodcast. Also, if you're a Rumble person, you can go over to Locals, buy me a coffee, Ko-Fi, Graypilled. Yeah. Headless, this was fun, brother. And I hope you have a good rest of your evening. Enjoy your movie. And yeah,
I gotta
guys,
go break some laws to get there. See you guys.
Hopefully I'll see y'all in a little bit. Y'all stay gray pilled. Yeah, later.